I'm speaking to.
Hi, my name's David Waterhouse. I am the student body president of the College of Southern Nevada. Today I'm up here at the Nevada Legislative Building along with my associates and student leadership from UNLV, as well as Nevada State College, as well as a number of students from the K through 12 school system down in Clark County. We've come up as a group in several large buses. We drove up here all night, overnight, from Las Vegas to be here to speak to our legislators today. And really, we have come together as kind of a unified force, if you will, to speak to the legislators, show that this is affecting all of us, and as a group that we are all willing and able to support our legislators who support higher education. Some of them are concerned that, maybe it's not the best thing to do to support and try and save our education system through this legislative session. And we feel that, they just haven't spoken to enough of us one-on-one. They haven't heard our personal stories. They haven't heard how involved we are in our education, both at the K through 12 level and the higher ed level, how we're excited to complete our degrees, and how we're excited to go on and enter the workforce and become contributing members to the economy, so that hopefully we can try and turn this state around and push the economy back in the correct direction. I mean, all of the students that are standing here with me today, we're the future generation of Nevada. We're the future leaders. We're the future business owners and business leaders. We're the future taxpayers, and we are the ones that are going to be paying taxes if the Nevada legislature decides that we can handle that, to try and save the education system, to try and save the healthcare system, to try and save our public services in the state to help contribute to our quality of life. And it's important that we do that, and everybody here agrees with that same concept, that it's important that we look to the future as far as Nevada goes, and they understand it's important to support the entire education system so that our children have a future and the state has a future.
My question I have, I'm kind of seeing this as a northerner. Being in the southern end of things, you're kind of hearing things long after it's happened. How do you guys have to, work together down south to make things happen up here?
Well, there are some differences in the way the North and the South are funded, and that's because there's a funding formula in place that distributes funding for each institution at a particular ratio. It doesn't fund everybody evenly for the amount of students that they have. Basically, the money does not follow the amount of students. In the South, we have somewhere between 65 to 70% of the students in higher education, yet all of our institutions in the South, we are funded at an average of over $2,000 per student less than the North. And it's not that the legislature purposely wants to do this. There's no malicious intent in funding us less. It's just that this funding formula that has been in place for so many years, back then when it went into place, there were more students in the North, and Las Vegas hadn't gone through its giant growth spurt. But now, because of our giant growth spurt in the South, we're now suffering more, and our institutions are being forced to cut the fat and run much more leaner because of the less funding that we have per student. And this is something that it's important that the legislature looks at this funding formula, although it could be an entirely different battle, and they won't get to it this year. It's important that they do investigate this so that going forth the money does follow the students, and we're able to support students where they are with an equal amount of funding.
So that's why you guys are a little more active. I mean, because not only because of the shortfall issues. I mean, the old saying is when we have a sneeze, when we have a cold up here, you're almost dying down south.
Correct. Just to give you an idea, and our message isn't that we demand some of this funding that the North has, because the fact of the matter is the North is underfunded as well. I mean, it's just that going forth, we need to be funded at an equal level to what they have, not bring their funding down so that it balances out. That's not the correct answer. That's not how you're going to solve the problem. The way that you'll do this is you fix the funding formula so that there's an equal amount of funding when this economy turns around. And I mean, with that, CSN, we're the largest institution in the state. We have almost 42,000 students at CSN. We get funded at approximately, I believe it is $5,500 per FTE, full-time equivalent student, basically. Looking up at the North, Great Basin Community College, they get funded at $11,500 per student. There's a drastic difference in the two schools, and that's because of how the funding formula funds the North versus the South. So it's something that the legislators need to look at. I know it's something that not all of them want to look at this time being, just because it's not as high of a priority as just simply saving the education system in general. And like I said, it's an entirely different battle, but it's something that needs to be kept at the forefront of everybody's minds going forward if we want to fix the education system going down the road.
And that being said, what are you guys doing? I mean, obviously you're doing this event today. Try to just get the message out and try to get the word out and explain what's going on. What else are you doing in Southern Nevada, Las Vegas, Henderson, Boulder City, to get more people like yourself, more
involved? Yes.
Thank you.
Well, in the South, what we're doing, I mean, the student leadership from all three of the higher education institutions down there, we're working very closely together. And as our job as student leaders, we need to get students and faculty and parents and community members involved in the political process. So where our role comes into play is we go to classrooms and we talk to students. We go to the faculty senate meetings and we talk to faculty members. I go to local PTA meetings and I talk to parents in the PTA system. Go out and talk to media. We organize letter writing campaigns to have students and faculty communicate their personal stories to legislators. We're starting up a postcard campaign so that students can write on postcards and mail that. Email campaigns. I mean, we're putting the communication between students and legislators, making it more simple for them to do that, making it more convenient, because especially at CSN, there's a lot of people who work 1 or 2 jobs, they're single parents. It's hard for them to be very proactive, and with us giving them that push, it's kind of giving them the little motivation they need to do. We're showing that it's not that hard to do it, and that legislators do listen. And it's every legislator that we've spoken to while being up here, they've said, we've gotten your letters, we've gotten your postcards, that's great, keep that coming. We enjoy hearing these stories, and it does make a difference. So we're trying to keep that strength going.
And I have a question to ask, and this is kind of playing the devil's advocate argument with regard to the governor's position, which apparently I'm sure you've probably got this a couple times. The fact that we're in lean economic times, the governor's made a call, and he said basically, not quoting the governor's budget specifically, but the governor's prioritizing service to the people of the state versus one private institution, and we college students should kind of suck it up. I mean, we can afford an offset. I mean, what do you say to that?
Well,
we can afford an increase. I'm sorry.
I can respect his opinion and his stance, and he's standing strong by that, and therefore I can respect him for that. However, with that large of a budget cut to our institutions, you have to look at the elasticity of a cut like that to the school. His solution is, well, you guys can just raise tuition. In order for us to fill that 30% hole, if you will, which is $475 million at the higher education institutions, we would have to raise tuition by 200%. And as you understand the demographic of students, especially at our community college, they simply cannot afford that. Even at UNLV, they simply cannot afford that. International students cannot afford that. Students that are working multiple part-time jobs just so they can afford to go to school cannot afford that. And when you have to raise tuition by that much, the elasticity in it will cause a majority of those students to be turned away, not necessarily because the classes aren't available, but simply because they cannot afford that. And so the more proper solution to this would have been to study taxes without ruling them out in the first place, to study budget cuts and see what is sustainable and what institutions can handle, and study tuition increases to see what students can handle. And with those three things combined, you could have found a more realistic solution that more legislators would have been behind, because then you're considering all options and you're coming to the table with stakeholders, academia, and the politicians, and you bring everybody together at the same time and you work together. And that would have been a more proper solution than just saying, no new taxes, I'm not going to deal with this, you guys deal with it. That's not responsible leadership.
Gotcha. And in closing, is there anything else you want to say with regard to your attendance here today, or the budget cuts in general, or yourself?
Really, I mean, just for anybody who's read about the budget cuts and they're concerned, but they just have not comprehended just how drastic and dire of a situation this is, they really need to study the numbers and see what will happen to our education system if it does have to deal with a full 36% cut. You're looking at laying off 2,200 faculty with that. You're looking at closing down campuses. You're looking at forcing higher education institutions like UNLV, Nevada State, CSN to consolidate potentially into one school. And that's worst case scenario, but that's a realistic possibility if they do have to deal with that. And what that's going to do to students, if all those faculty members are let go because we just don't have the money to pay them anymore, you're looking at thousands and thousands and thousands of students who will not be able to complete their degrees. and future thousands of students who will not be able to enter the higher education institution, what's going to happen to them? They're either going to be forced into, low-income jobs with no future of ever getting out of that, or you're going to be forcing them out of state. And when students leave the state and complete their higher education degree somewhere else, they develop friend networks there. They, encounter opportunities that keep them there. Only, I believe it is 10% of students that end up going out of state ever actually come back. So you're sending Nevada's future tax-paying base from the next generation out of state, never to return. What does that solve?
Sure. Thank you very much, David.
No problem.
And
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so let me get a picture of that there. We're good.